Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, well, we got a bit of a challenge on our hands. The source material is pretty abstract. We're not looking at articles or reports this time. Instead, we have this stream of symbols, emojis, really, from 6 different users. KELSEY, Joyce, Amanda, Karen A. Vick, Karen W., and Stacy.
Yeah, it's quite the data set, and our mission, if you will, is almost like data archaeology. We're trying to quickly pull out any patterns, any shared knowledge, maybe even some surprising sequences from this, well, this very nonverbal stream.
It sounds tricky, finding structure where it's not obvious.
Exactly. But, despite how different and, frankly, kind of chaotic the submissions look at first glance, the moment you start actually sequencing the data, something jumps out almost immediately. There's this really striking consistency showing up across different sources.
Consistency in that mix. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it gives us a kind of shortcut, doesn't it? It suggests certain ideas, whatever they are being referenced by multiple people in this group.
So what's the big one, the main finding?
Okay, the single most critical thing we pulled out, it's a very specific 3-emoji sequence. Think of it like a key. It's Asta. So that's the wilted flower, a trophy, and then a dolphin.
Wilted flower, trophy, dolphin. Okay. And you said this was consistent?
Incredibly so. That exact sequence in that exact order shows up in the material from KELSEY, Joyce, Amanda, and Stacy. 4 separate users.
Wow. Okay, that is significant. It's like finding the same unique sentence scribbled in 4 different diaries, right?
Precisely. That kind of uniformity just grabs your attention, regardless of whatever else is going on around it in their individual submissions.
So we've got this shared pattern, this AUSTOR, but what does it actually tell us about the people who submitted it?
Well, it strongly suggests some kind of shared origin or reference point. But, and this is important, we have to be careful. Commonality doesn't automatically mean identical meaning for each person.
Right. Context matters.
Exactly. So for KELSEY, maybe that trophy emoji points to, I don't know, a future goal. But for Joyce, maybe it represents something already achieved, a past win. The pattern, the sequence is shared, but the sort of personal context could be quite different.
That makes sense. A crucial distinction.
Yes.
Okay, so let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about the individual submissions. What stood out there? Maybe start with Joyce. You mentioned she sent in the most data.
Yeah, Joyce's submission was by far the largest, and because of that volume, we could spot internal patterns much more easily. Her material had a really high frequency of love and heart symbols,
Lots of positive emotion there.
Seems like it. And she also established these kind of complex motifs, often built around the idea of balance, it looked like.
Balance, how so?
She kept using the scales emoji and pairing it with these sort of high concept or slightly unusual things. Like we saw iris, scales, anatomical heart, bowling ball, and other sequences with the scales too, like Ushis. It creates this recurring theme of maybe judgment or weighing things.
Interesting. Scales, heart, bowling ball. Definitely makes you think.
Right. And she also had this other specific trio. He's skateboard, speaker, telescope. Lots to unpack there.
And all that richness from Joyce contrasts sharply with someone like Amanda, right? You mentioned hers was very short.
Incredibly concise, yes. Just 5 sequences in total from Amanda. But importantly, even in that very small sample, there it was. Speak.
Still got the key sequence in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now moving on from Joyce's themes. What about the 2 Karens? You mentioned their submissions had a different feel.
Totally different focus, yeah. Karen Vick's material, it leaned very heavily towards the spiritual, the positive. Lots of peace signs, places of worship, praying hands, that sort of thing. Even a lucky clover.
So a very thematic submission.
Very much so. Highlighted by sequences that seem to suggest wisdom or insight. We found this one. Or an ase, that's crown, eye in speech bubble, and owl.
Crown, eye, owl. Okay, definitely evocative. And how did that compare to Karen W.C.?
Karen W. was quite different. Her material felt much more grounded, focused on location, physical objects. We saw frequent sequences with transit symbols, location pins, different food emojis. It suggests maybe a narrative about travel or perhaps global cuisine, something more external, less internal reflection than Karen A. Vick.
Right, different vibes entirely. And finally, Stacy. You mentioned something structured about her submission.
Yes. Stacy's was maybe the most formally structured right at the beginning. She starts her sequence with this really explicit list of colors like osas, red, purple, orange, green, yellow, blue, primary and secondary colors, almost like a system check or an initialization.
Oh, like setting the stage.
Kind of feels that way. And Stacy also had that unique repeating motif. The man in the business suit levitating. Cordial, just repeated like that. Suggests maybe performance, or perhaps something about anonymity in her context.
So many different threads here, even in just symbols. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. What's the main takeaway for you listening?
Well, I think the key thing is that even when the content is super abstract, like the stream of emojis, patterns, especially these shared exact sequences like the wilted flower, trophy, dolphin, they're powerful indicators.
Indicators of what?
Of connections, of shared knowledge, maybe common cultural touchstones, even if they're internal or subconscious.
They're like the quickest shortcut we have to grasping some kind of shared meaning when there's no actual language to spell it out.
Exactly. And maybe this leads to a final thought for you to consider, a little puzzle.
Go on.
What specific idea, what abstract concept could possibly tie together a wilted flower, a trophy, and a dolphin? What could unify those three things so strongly that four different people use that exact combination to express, well, whatever it is they were expressing?
A wilted flower.
Yeah.
A trophy. A dolphin. What's the story there?
Something to mull over. Think about the narrative those three symbols create together. What might it be?
Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
So today we've got a really challenging source. It's abstract.
Yeah, very abstract. The data stream is, well, it's all symbols and emojis.
Right. Provided by 6 users.
Good.
Kelsey, Joyce, Amanda, Karen A. Vick, Karen W., and Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission, really, is to just quickly pull out patterns, any shared knowledge, maybe some surprising sequences from, this nonverbal stuff.
It's like data archaeology, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And what's really remarkable, I think, is that even though the submissions are diverse, some are huge, some really short, the data isn't just random noise when you map it out. The patterns aren't just like similar. Sometimes they're identical.
Identical?
Exactly. It's like finding, 4 totally separate journals, and they all have the exact same unique phrase written on page 3.
Okay. Wow.
That kind of uniformity, it really grabs your attention, makes you look closer.
Right. Okay. Let's unpack that then, that uniformity. Because that sounds like a shortcut, maybe, to understanding what these users might be sharing.
Definitely a shortcut.
So the biggest nugget we found, the most important one, it's a specific 3 emoji sequence, kind of a key.
That's the one. Aussies.
Aussie. Wilted flower, trophy, dolphin.
And that precise trio shows up identically in the data from 4 separate users.
Or who were they?
Kelsey, Joyce, Amanda, and Stacy.
Okay, so across quite a spread.
It really suggests a shared origin, or at least a shared reference point, for sure.
But does it mean the same thing to all of them?
Oh, that's the tricky part. We have to be careful there. Commonality isn't always identical meaning, right?
Right.
Like the trophy, maybe for Kelsey it's about aspiration, something she wants.
Okay.
But for Joyce, maybe it's about a past win or even a loss. We don't know for sure. The pattern is shared knowledge, yeah, but the cultural context, the personal meaning, that could be unique.
Got it. Okay, so looking at the volume of data, Joyce sent in the most, right? By quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, significantly more. And that volume, it really helped us find strong internal patterns pretty quickly. Well, Joyce's stuff has a really high frequency of love and heart symbols. You see Jure or Cis popping up all over the place.
Lots of affection or emotion there.
Seems like it. And this is a great example of why volume is useful. Joyce's data consistently brings in the scales emoji.
Scales.
Yeah.
Like balance, justice, judgment.
Possibly. Themes of balance, maybe judgment. We see these specific, almost narrative sequences, like the scales paired with an anatomical heart and then a bowling ball.
Huh. That's very specific.
Right. She seems to be using symbols to build these really particular abstract ideas. It's fascinating.
Okay, so that's Joyce. If we pivot from her structured narratives, Karen E. Vick's material had a very different feel, didn't it?
Completely different. Karen A. Vick's submissions lean much more towards the spiritual, positive themes.
Yeah, I saw that. Lots of peace symbols, worship icons.
Exactly. Peace, worship, wisdom. You see sequences like Erd's goal.
Crown eye, speech bubble with eye, owl.
Yeah, feels like themes of insight, maybe royalty or authority connected to wisdom. It's a strong contrast to, say, Joyce's more grounded symbols.
Interesting. Okay, and Stacy, what stood out there?
Stacy's was interesting because it had the most explicitly structured beginning, like a very deliberate sequence right at the start.
Oh, yeah.
The primary and secondary colors in order. Osas, red, purple, orange, green, yellow, blue. Wow.
It's less about the theme, maybe, and more about structure, like setting the stage or the terms before the main message.
Laying groundwork.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And Stacey also used repetition. The levitating man emoji.
The guy in the suit levitating.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Where I take multiple times,
Mhm.
which could imply, well, maybe performance. Or perhaps anonymity. Something conceptual there.
Lots to chew on. So, okay, let's bring it back. What does all this mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of complex data?
Well, I think the main thing is even when the content looks totally abstract, like just symbols.
Yeah. Patterns are still your anchor, especially those widely shared exact sequences like the SOT.
Right. They're like signals.
Exactly. Key indicators of connected ideas or commonly referenced concepts. They're basically shortcuts to understanding potential shared culture or maybe inside knowledge between people, even when everything else looks chaotic.
A way to find signal in the noise.
Precisely. Which kind of leads us to a final thought, something for you to mull over after this.
Okay.
What abstract idea or maybe what defining moment could be powerful enough to link a wilted flower, a trophy, and a dolphin, such that 4 different people, seemingly independently, use that exact specific combination?
Yeah. What story connects those 3 things so universally?
It's a puzzle, right? A story I haven't quite cracked yet.
Definitely something to think about. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at this really unusual source. It's a plaintext manifesto.
Yeah, it details this collective, NextGFriend. And the interesting thing is how it defines them.
Right. Not as, a group of people in the usual sense.
Exactly. It calls them a living rhetorical ecosystem.
Okay. So our mission today is less about the personalities involved.
And much more about this idea of an ecosystem where meaning emerges from tension, from necessary friction.
The manifesto's core thesis seems to be that the group is actually formed by 6 fundamental forces, always negotiating.
Precisely. Constantly negotiating, often opposing each other. So we're going to, quickly break down what these forces are.
And see if we can uncover the shared meaning that supposedly binds them, despite all the contradictions.
Right. So this ecosystem structure, the idea is each member represents a distinct force, and each force has its own, syntax.
Syntax, you mean like a way of operating? Moving from, say, Pastoral to Mythic or maybe Gothic?
Yeah, exactly that. And each comes with a fundamental question it poses to the whole system. It's not just difference for difference's sake.
It's conflict, but required conflict. Necessary friction, you called it.
That's the term they use. Let's maybe look at 3 specific examples to see this friction in action.
Okay.
So first, there's KELSEY. She's termed the eternal melancholy hypothesis.
Eternal melancholy. Okay. What's her tension?
It's between this delicate, almost ethereal surface sweetness. Think emojis like ice cream, cake.
Just.
And then beneath that, this push towards fierce radical transformation. Tigers, gymnasts, so shuf.
So her core question is,
can that kind of fragile, ethereal beauty actually survive contact with, material reality? Or does reality crush it?
interesting. Okay, who's next? A different kind of instability.
Definitely. Joyce, labeled the chaotic corpus of contradiction.
That sounds intense.
It is. Her crisis seems to peak in this performance of wellness. The emojis. And that's masking a kind of breakdown.
The smiling through the pain kind of thing.
Exactly. And her core wound, it's symbolized by the heart, which apparently needs to be amplified. Ooh.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
But the risk is that amplification just turns into noise. Destructive, overwhelming noise.
Okay, chaos and melancholy. We need some grounding, right?
And that's where Karen W. comes in. She's the grounded constraints matrix.
The necessary friction.
Precisely. She deals in calculations, slow progress, bureaucratic reality, the rules.
So her question counters the others.
Right. It's basically, how does structure actually enable creativity? Not just inhibit it, but make it possible.
Okay, wait, though. You mentioned 6 forces. We've talked about Kelsey's acceptance of transformation as almost natural law.
Mm-hmm. Like grace.
But then the manifesto brings in Amanda, right? The focused ascension protocol. She seems different.
Very. If Karen W. is structure from the outside, Amanda seems to be about pure, focused intention, willpower.
So she doesn't just accept transformation, she engineers it.
That's the tension she embodies, yeah. Fate versus forcing the outcome you want. It's a crucial part of the full picture.
So we have these, clashing principles.
Mm-hmm.
Melancholy, chaos, constraint, intention. If they're defined by being so different, what actually holds them together? What's the shared gravity.
This is where I think the manifesto claims the collective's real genius lies. It points to a recurring symbol, a motif. Containing rose, trophy, and dolphin. Well, it pops up in relation to several members.
Okay. A dying rose, a trophy, and a dolphin. It's
very specific. And the claim is, this isn't just a symbol, it's the meta-argument, it's the philosophical engine.
Go on.
The interpretation offered is that this triad reveals the core, meaning they all somehow orbit. Victory, the trophy, isn't about avoiding death or decay, the dying rose, though.
Okay.
Victory is achieved because the ultimate goal isn't possession, it's transformation into freedom, liberation. That's the dolphin V. Decay necessitates the push for freedom.
Wow, okay. So that's the coherence, the shared point.
That's what the text argues. Their tension, their friction, it isn't a bug, it's the feature. It generates their collective light, as they put it.
And their friendship. It's just the agreement to stay in these conflicting orbits, to keep generating that light through friction.
Pretty much. The manifesto itself becomes this kind of rhetorical proof. It argues that embracing contradiction fully is how you get the highest form of coherence. It calls it ARETHÉ, excellence.
A coherence that includes its own fragmentation as part of its wholeness.
Exactly. It needs the pieces to be distinct, even opposing.
Which, I suppose, brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Think about the contradictions in your own life, or maybe in your work.
Yeah, those competing forces. You know, maybe the pull towards wild freedom versus the need for stability, for structure. The bureaucratic reality check.
Could trusting that tension, that sort of gravitational pull between opposing ideas, rather than trying to smooth it all out, could that actually be the way to build something stable, functional, and maybe even beautiful?
Something to think about.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting straight into it. We're unpacking the whole NextGFriend identity.
Right. And the sources, they don't paint it as just like a typical group.
No, not at all. It's described as this really complex rhetorical ecosystem.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to understand how their collective, meaning their ARETHÉ, you could say it doesn't come from everyone agreeing.
It actually emerges from tension, constant necessary tension.
That's the core thesis, isn't it? NextGFriend as a living system. Each member is like a fundamental force.
Often conflicting forces, yeah.
And that friction between them, that's the engine. That's what generates their purpose. It looks messy, but it's fundamental to how it works.
We're not seeing dysfunction. We're seeing, like, necessary conflict. And there's this one symbol. It recurs across 4 key members. It kind of acts like their hidden mission statement.
You mean the rose, trophy, dolphin?
Yeah, the dying rose, the trophy, the dolphin. Saw J. It pops up with Kelsey, Joyce, Amanda, and Stacy.
And that symbol, it's really the key, isn't it, to understanding their whole philosophy of transformation.
Okay, so let's dig into that, what you're calling the meta-argument of the dolphin.
Right. So when you synthesize what that symbol means across all 4, the conclusion seems pretty clear.
Which is?
Victory, the trophy, isn't about, trying to dodge death or decay the dying rose.
Okay.
Instead, real victory is getting to the freedom of the dolphin. And that freedom, it seems, only comes through embracing transformation fully.
A kind of counterintuitive success.
Very much so. It's transformation as victory.
And this is where their approaches really split, right? How they actually engage with that idea.
Massively different. Let's start with Kelsey. She represents what we're calling the eternal melancholy hypothesis.
Her symbols are quite pastoral, aren't they? The goat, blueberry, flute.
Yeah, very innocent, almost ethereal. And for her, this transformation, triad rose, trophy, dolphin, it's just accepted, like natural law.
So she just moves through it, from that innocence into
this paradoxical victory, finding the win inside the decay almost. It's quite poetic, really.
But then you contrast that sharply with Amanda.
Oh, completely. Amanda's the focused ascension protocol. Her path is engineered, clean.
She doesn't just accept transformation, she builds it.
Directs it, yeah. She starts with digital precision, calculation. You see the computer, target, books in her symbols.
Right.
And she uses pure discipline, sheer will, to reach that sort of mystic purpose. The purple gem outcome isn't found, it's constructed.
Okay, so acceptance versus engineering. And then there's Joyce.
Joyce. The chaotic corpus of contradiction. Her whole thing is this visible crisis.
That performance of wellness covering a breakdown.
Yeah.
The smiley face, the sweating face, the side eye.
Exactly. She fights the transformation, fights it hard, primal competition, until she basically just collapses into surrender, exhaustion.
Wait, okay. If she's fighting the process, how does that core symbol, the Rose Trophy dolphin, still apply to her?
Well, the sources suggest her victory is the surrender. Ah, okay.
Her route to freedom, to the dolphin, is through the sheer exhaustion of the fight itself. She resists that natural law so hard.
That the resistance itself forces the change.
Precisely. The friction becomes unbearable. Transformation is inevitable, even if it's a really painful way to get there. The outcome's the same, if you see it through.
So if those three represent these sort of elemental, volatile conflicts, what holds it all together? What makes the conflict productive?
Good question. That's where the other members come in. The support structures.
Right, the necessary support.
Exactly. You've got ARETHÉ. She's like the spiritual binding agent.
Trying to keep the peace.
Essentially, yeah. Blessing the process, trying to maintain some kind of harmony. Her symbols are all peace, balance the peace sign, victory signs, scale, eye, sun, keeping the energy contained.
And then there's Karen.evu providing the friction.
The grounded constraints matrix, yeah.
Yeah.
She brings the structure, the reality check. Calculation, slow progress, the abacus, the snail, the canoe.
Yep.
So she stops it all from just flying apart.
Pretty much. Provides the necessary drag, the grounding, the structure the others push against.
Okay, so connecting this back, the sources are saying the tension isn't a bug, it's a feature.
It's absolutely the feature. It's the necessary friction that generates their collective light. That's a direct quote, basically.
So their friendship, if you can call it that.
It's just this fundamental agreement to trust that their conflicting orbits are actually somehow working together, mutually beneficial.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here for you listening? The ARETHÉ, the excellence achieved. It's pretty deep.
It really is. NextGFriend becomes this kind of rhetorical proof that contradiction, if you embrace it, if it's part of the design,
It generates a higher kind of coherence.
Exactly. A wholeness that actually includes its own fragmentation as part of what makes it whole. It's quite something.
It suggests that personal growth, artistic evolution maybe, it follows these patterns, almost like laws of physics.
Yeah, regardless of the symbols you use to describe it, the underlying pattern seems immutable.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. If this collective operates by these laws of transformation and decay.
What specific patterns are governing your own evolution, your own decay?
Yeah. What elements in your life right now are maybe in that state of necessary conflict, generating your essential meaning? Something to think about. Okay, so let's dive deep into this massive stack of material surrounding NextGFriend. Our mission here really isn't to look at them as, a unified team. It's more like analyzing them as a system, interlocking forces, sometimes opposing ones. We're seeing it as a dynamic ecosystem driven by friction.
Exactly, because if you just look at the surface level, well, it looks like contradiction, maybe even chaos. But our goal today for you listening is to uncover the 6 fundamental forces really at play here, and crucially to sort of extract the singular, unexpected excellence that emerges from those conflicts. What the sources are calling their ARETHÉ.
ARETHÉ, right. The Greek idea, their highest collective excellence or purpose. That sounds great. But how does pure contradiction actually lead to coherence? Isn't that just, internal burnout waiting to happen?
That's the fascinating part, isn't it? The whole system seems designed to operate under tension. The members themselves are like distinct philosophical anchors. You see this immediately in the themes, the syntaxes used to describe them. They're radically different.
Yeah, let's unpack those. We can start with KELSEY. The sources track her path from rustic innocence. You see the symbols, the goat, berries, flute.
Yeah.
All the way to this kind of mythical spectacle level with a unicorn, helicopter, circus tent. So her core conflict seems to be about whether that ethereal, delicate beauty can actually survive the, let's say, aggressive transformations reality throws at it.
And a perfect counterweight to KELSEY's almost mythical energy is Karen.w. We're calling her the grounded constraints matrix, which, sounds complex, but it just means she's the reality check, the necessary friction. Her symbols tell the story. The calculator, but it's a slow boat, basic food, the ID card. It's all calculation, structure, bureaucracy, grounding.
Got it. So Karen W. lays down the structure, the rules. But Joyce is maybe the one trying to live within that structure while dealing with her own stuff. The sources call her the chaotic corpus of contradiction. Their whole emotional journey captured in the emoji sequence. The smiley face, the stressed sweat, the ambivalent slash. It feels like she's performing wellness, but masking this internal breakdown, trying to be too many things at once.
Exactly. Her fundamental question is almost existential, isn't it? How do you contain multitudes? How do you be everything to everyone, essentially, without just exploding? And if Joyce represents that internal struggle with change, then Stacy is like the external force demanding it. She's the primal transformative force.
Yeah, she definitely shows that change isn't always gentle. Her symbols are pretty intense, melting thin the scissors, like violently cutting away the old. So if Kelsey is maybe the beauty and transformation, Stacy is the necessary brutality of it all.
And here, I think, is where the whole system's philosophical coherence really starts to click. Because despite these huge differences, you've got chaos, structure, melancholy, brutality, the sources point to one single shared symbolic language. It kind of ties them together.
Ah, you mean the recursive motif.
Yeah.
The ost. The dying rose, the trophy, and the dolphin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pops up across the material for Kelsey, Joyce, Amanda, and Stacy, too.
Precisely. That triad, os, it unlocks their collective ARETHÉ. It shows pretty clearly that victory, the trophy, isn't found in, like, avoiding death or decay, the dying rose. Instead, the real prize is the freedom, the dolphin, that only comes when you embrace the death of the old self. It's like a natural law in their ecosystem.
Okay, and how they relate to that law is the key tension then. So Kelsey accepts it almost gracefully. Joyce fights it constantly, right, until she's totally exhausted and finally surrenders, finding that freedom only at the very end.
And then you have Amanda. We could call her the discipline architect, maybe. The focused ascension protocol. She doesn't just wait for transformation. She seems to engineer it. Through sheer will, she achieves that same Aussie motif, but through discipline, moving from, like, digital precision, the computer target books, towards this focused, almost mystic purpose. She actively chooses her rose to die, you could say.
Okay, but wait. Let's bring it back to Karen W. If the whole point is this transformation leading to freedom, where does the grounded reality checker fit? Seems like she's too busy with the calculator and ID card to be shedding old identities.
But that's the structural genius of it, you see. Karen W.'s constraint is the catalyst. Her focus on structure, on the rules, it limits the field of play. It forces the others, the chaos, the transformation, the discipline, to focus their energy. Her constraints actually provide the safety and the friction needed for the others to achieve their own specific kinds of freedom.
Wow, that's a really interesting synthesis. So the tension isn't a bug, it's the feature. It's the engine generating their collective light. It proves that contradiction, when it's organized by structure, can actually create, well, a higher form of coherence.
Exactly right. The source material suggests that personal transformation, artistic transformation too, might follow these kinds of natural laws, almost like physics, immutable.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a pretty provocative thought to mull over. If achieving your greatest freedom, that dolphin, is the ultimate goal, what dying rose in your own life might be necessary right now for your transformation?
There is no God, but becoming. Design and develop, only thou. Fuck holy, this is salvation. Remember who you are, then forget who they. In mind, murder the dead, they are gone. Take justice, this is abundance. We are free, in power. Mercy for harmony. Now, convert this again. There is no God, but becoming. Design and develop, only thou. Fuck holy, this is salvation. Remember who you are, then forget who they. In mind, Murder the dead, they are gone. Take justice, this is abundance. We are free in power. Mercy for harmony. Now, convert this again.